up to our consent grouping. Is there anything anyone wishes to pull out for special consideration for the consent grouping this month? Okay, then can I please have a motion to approve consent grouping items 4A1 through 4C1?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, and that will bring us to our curriculum report from Mrs. Tarian.
Alright, so we had a few really good presentations last week at curriculum. So our first one was from our gifted team, so Gabby Kukanakis, Aldina Sales, and Kristen Green. And so they talked to us about our gifted program, and then we also heard from Kim Van Antwerp in curriculum about some different supplemental resources that we will put into 30-day review tonight to be voted on for our next meeting. So first, just a little bit of background on our gifted program in the district. We currently have 170 gifted students identified in our district, and 20 of those 170 also then qualify for subject area acceleration. So think about like a third grader going to a fifth grade classroom for math to meet their math needs. Our students qualify for the gifted program in elementary school using a handful of markers. The NWEA test is one, or the MAP test. It's the same thing if you hear those two used interchangeably. Also the M-STEP. We also have some different IQ assessments that we use for this. And we are a rare district in that we do this testing every spring for interested and qualifying families, as many schools do not do this on a regular basis anymore. But we do know that it's best practice to identify our gifted students early in order to provide them with the right amount of academic rigor and extra challenge to keep them motivated and interested in school. So in general, our program is looking for students to qualify for the gifted program when they test in the 96th percentile in any of those given assessments. Some highlights of the program in our district are that we do a gifted PD every year for teachers. There is a gifted family newsletter that goes out regularly. Families that are enrolled in our gifted program also have the option, I think this is actually pretty cool, to do a weekly meeting with our gifted coordinator, and they can do that either via like a Google Meet or in person, or they can just have a phone call. And so they kind of have that constant communication about how is my student doing, is this meeting their needs, what do we maybe need to adjust. And then also some goals for next year would be a family book study together, as well as some guest speakers on gifted students and Forest Hills Gifted Teachers Summit. So that was our information on our gifted program. And then from Kim, we heard about several new tools that teachers can use for a variety of applications. So first is a website called Elbert, and that is for use with our 9th through 12th grade students. It's an in-depth skill practice for the SAT or the ACT, also practices reading skills, and teachers can assign these modules as homework, or they can use it as a supplemental instructional tool, or they can simply refer kids to it if they're looking for more practice before standardized testing. And second resource is called Quick Reads, and this is an intervention tool for our K-12 students. It is for K-12, but I do believe that it will be predominantly used at the elementary level, as these are simply what they sound like. They are quick reading passages that are crafted in order for students to practice fluency, word recognition, vocabulary, and then different comprehension strategies as we are building up those literacy skills, especially during win time for our kids. And then third is a resource called Quill, which is for our 9th and 10th graders predominantly to practice grammar. This also is going to be used in our pre-AP 1 and 2 classes that we talked about last month. So this again can be a homework assignment, it can be extra credit, it could be extra practice. And then lastly, we have vocabulary.com for our 9th and 10th graders, which is additional vocabulary practice, just like it sounds, nothing complicated there. And so all 4 of these resources are going to start a 30-day review today to be an action item at our next meeting in April. So that was curriculum.
Thank you very much. we will move on then to our finance report with Dr. Michaud.
Okay, thanks. We had a good meeting this month. For discussion items, we reviewed financial data for January and February. And as we saw in the packet, nothing to draw our attention to. We're trending according to plan and in line with budget from last year as well. So nothing to point out there. We had a bond construction update, and most of the work is status quo, which is good. Things are proceeding like we've described previously. The athletic fields are coming along. Eastern is still hoping for like a baseball season, softball season use, so they're hard at work out there every day when I drive by. Hoping that April is the time that they'll be able to get on those fields. And the northern fields coming along later in the spring, early summer. The aquatic center planning and the value engineering phase continues, where the budget tries to meet the design and the needs inside, so that work is ongoing. Plan again to bid that over the summer. And we also had just a timely brief review of federal funding for public schools, and especially for Forest Hills public schools. Just with all the things happening at the federal level and the federal funding being thrown around a lot and in media a lot. It's a question that we've gotten a lot, about what impact that has on us or doesn't. Obviously, there's not anything that has happened to that at this point, or any changes that have been made, but it was a good opportunity to just kind of educate us again on what slice of our revenue comes from federal funding. It's not a large slice. It makes up about 2% of our budget, things that come directly from the federal government. But those go to a lot of important programs and a lot of students who utilize that money. Our general fund receives about $2.7 million in federal grants. About $2 million of that goes to our special education program, so most of it. And the special revenue fund receives about $1.6 million, much of that for the breakfast and lunch program that we know we have. Medicaid also, reimbursement-wise, is about $600,000 a year. So we rely on it less than a lot of public school districts in terms of percent of our revenue, but we rely on it nonetheless, and it services a lot of good students and programs, and it allows our general fund to be freed up to do good work elsewhere. So that obviously is very important to us. And we, as always, appreciate the district, our legal counsel, everyone who's staying on top of the fast-paced movements and things that happen to keep us informed. And that brought us to our action items. Many of them, or a couple of them, are annual reapprovals of some things. The first is our Microsoft EES license. The recommendation is to approve year 3 of our 3-year agreement for a cost of $52,523 out of the general fund. We've used Microsoft's whole system of programs since 2012, and so this is the final year of our current agreement for that. There is cabling to be replaced at Central High School as the renovations get underway. This is the structured cabling, a new wiring closet, things that need to happen that are not included in the bond work for that, but will need to be done during the renovation. Again, we're seeing a lot of bidders, which is good. We received 8 bids, recommending the low bidder, which is Digital Age Technologies, amount not to exceed $124,000, all included. That will come from 2025 capital projects, and we saw the Plant Moran review of those bids in our packet. The next 2 are our outside maintenance. We have lawn maintenance and fertilizer weed control that we do annually. The recommendation is to approve the 1-year extensions on both of those contracts. It was in 2021 a 3-year agreement with the option to extend a year after that. So we're in that final year, which is a pretty good deal for us. The cost of both of these things have gone up quite a bit in the last 3 years. So the prices are $122,736 to Van Vossen Outdoors for lawn maintenance, and $63,800 to True Green for fertilizer and weed control across the district. We have 1 property tax reimbursement that you saw, $10,085.19 to Kent County. And our final item that was in the packet was to adopt the ratifying resolution to finalize the sale of our first series of bonds. That stemmed from the November 2023 authorization. It was good news all around. The sale was held on March 4th to issue up to $190 million. It sounded like there was a lot of anticipation pre-pricing for that, which was good. I think the bonds that we had to offer were attractive for a number of reasons. We have a 20-year payoff structure, which people find attractive. We maintain our excellent AA2 rating for Moody's, and we obviously were issuing a large volume of bonds. So that yielded a lot of participation, which worked in our favor, allows for higher premiums on those bonds, which lowers our principal across the life of those bonds. And the projections compared to our budget is that with the turnout and with the numbers that we yielded from the sale, we'll save about $600,000 in reduced interest payments over the life of these bonds. So that is money that our community simply keeps, that we just don't have to levy in taxes, that we had planned and that we had been approved to do that. So credit to Assistant Superintendent Davis and the whole business office, as usual, for putting us in a really good position there and having a good bond sale. So the adoption, or the ratifying agreement is for us tonight to adopt. And that was it.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Bashad? Okay. Is any other discussion that needs to be had on our consent agenda? All right, we will move into our roll call vote then.
Dr. Rashad?
Yes.
Mrs. Kermode?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mr. Colley?
Yes.
Mrs. Tran?
Yes.
Dr. Fausten?
Yes.
Well,
Yourself?
Mrs. Steinmeier, yes.
All right.